What is good? What is good for the culture family? Hope you guys had a excellent weekend. Hope you guys are doing well here today. I'm gonna give it just a quick second, and then I'm gonna get started on what exactly I'm looking for coming into the markets for today. Lots of great moves that we could potentially be seeing for this week, and some things that we actually really need to cover in terms of the markets for the news that's coming out in terms of Israel and Iran and what effect that this could have on the markets. So we have a lot of good today, and we hope to execute with precision, and we're going to get right into it, right? So what I'm looking for today, let's take a look here for gold and look at where we are based on our larger time frame. So our current daily is in fact bearish. The volume for today is in fact bearish. So we're going to be looking potentially for a steeper sell move to the downside for gold for today coming into the session, as we just have a lot of bearish volume. But I will say that gold is in an overall bullish market structure. So if we take a look at gold here and the rising claims with Israel and Iran, it's likely that gold continues to go up. We are in our bullish wave, so I'm targeting, not today, but in general, I think that we can pull and gravitate to our all-time highs. Not only that, but we had a break of a high here, and we talked about this a lot last week on our sessions and in our live, and actually every trade that we took last week happened to follow this exact rule that I'm about to break down to you guys real quick. So we were taking correction based trades all last week, and right now we're in a corrective based structure. Price just took out this high at 34.50, right? And now we're seeing a correction based on the daily time frame. So if we dial down to the smaller time frame, what would be indicative that this would be a smaller time frame shift? Well, or what would be indicative that we're now, flipping from being bullish to now being bearish, is that price went ahead and it broke through this key structural lows here. As you can see, price is creating higher highs and higher lows. We did have a break of the 34.43 lows here. That indicates a lower time frame shift based on this 1 hour time frame, and we have a lot of sell pressure coming off of the current daily after taking out a key daily high up there. But the overall market structure, I'm anticipating to still flip back bullish to target these highs. So any sells that we look to take today during our session and would be a corrective structure based trade. And how we go about our corrective structure based trade, the members, the members in our VIP know how we go about our corrective structure based trades. We wait for a market time frame shift. We look to scale in after our flip. So we'll look for our market shift, which we've seen prices creating higher highs and higher lows. We need a larger time frame high to get taken out, which we've seen has been validated, and then we need a lower time frame shift for price to go and create a lower low and lower high. This is our market shift, and then we'll look to take our trade based on our entry model, targeting a 1 to 2 risk reward. This is exactly all the trades that we had took last week, all corrective structure based trades. Because why? Gold is overall bullish, and with the rising conflict in Israel and Iran, this is a safe haven currency, and this is a currency that people are going to be investing their money into. So we can see gold be pushing up to all-time highs here in the upcoming weeks, right? So as of today, in terms of market structure, where are targets that we're going to be looking for today? I definitely want to see how price reacts at this low here, a breakthrough this low in our session time. With a retest within this level, we could look for sell moves down. But if this level right here holds and we do see a bullish move where price begins to flip from creating lower lows and lower highs now to creating higher highs and higher lows, we will look to take any buy setups that we get this week. That is going to be very, very heavy. Any buy setups that we look to get, or any buy setups that we get this week, we're going to be looking to take But as of right now, our current volume is to the downside. We do have a resistance level right here that could potentially get broken. We have to see how price reacts on our market open. So that's when we're going to, really dive into it. And if you want to trade live with us to dive into these real live markets when we're actually trading and executing in the markets, you can join the VIP. It's down in the link down below. You guys can always join up with the team because we trade this live every single day. So what am I expecting? We are expecting, as of right now, a steeper move to the downside. If this 4-hour candle does in fact close bullish, and like I said, we get our bullish structure on this lower time frame, we're gonna look for buys to target potentially the previous day high. I don't know that we target the previous day high today. As of right now, everything on the lower as of right now, everything on the lower time frame is just signaling that price is in fact going to the downside. As long as we break through this area here, I see no reason why we couldn't see a retest and then a continuation down. We'll look to scale in our trades based on our entry model when we see it. But we got to wait for 9:30. 9:30 is very, very crucial. We got to wait for it. So, NQ. What do we see happen with NQ? We had a high get broken. Price opened up here with a gap up. Now, what this tells me is that there's a lot of buyers in the markets, right? And generally, when we have these gaps, price comes down to fill these gaps. But we talked about it over the weekend. Anything or any move from this level, price could potentially be bullish. And why we said that is because this is a mean rejection off of these previous lows here. Right, this is a sign that price could potentially flip bullish. And then on the lower time frame, we then have some higher highs and higher lows getting created. Price opened up with a gap up here and broke through this high, indicating that this structure is in fact a bullish market structure that we're in. So why this is important is because obviously we need to determine what our bias is going to be coming into the markets, right? So on the lower time frame and on the higher time frame, we are in fact bullish for Nas. We talked about how Nas over the weekend could potentially pull to these all-time highs up here at this 22,421 level. Not looking for that initial push today, but you can just see the volume that we have here. It is likely that we go ahead and take out these 22,112 highs. So I would definitely look for this to be a target that could likely get broken today. And now after this area gets broken, we want to look at some key things once we do see this possible level get broken. We want to see first what happens after we break, right? So does price go from creating higher highs and higher lows on this on the smaller time frame to creating lower lows and lower highs? If that's the case, we could potentially be seeing a corrective structure form in our session time. But if we do not see a lower time frame shift, it's likely that we could see just a retest and a continuation of this move. This is going to be very, very important in terms of how we look to execute. Our current volume and our current market structure is bullish, but once we take out these highs, we know based on how we execute on corrective based trades, and all of the trades that we took last week were corrective based trades, that once a high gets taken out on the lower time frame, we could potentially see a lower time frame shift from price creating higher highs and higher lows, like I said, to now creating lower lows and lower highs. And then we would look for a correction based trade. Why is it a correction based trade? Because it goes against the direction of the larger time frame trend. A lot of people feel like you can't trade against the trend. It's not that you can't trade against the trend, it's just you need to know how to execute against the trend. For our correction based trades, and I have this in the rules for the 9 steps of how we actually go about the markets, we have continuation based trades and correction based trades. So our correction based trades go against our trend, and what we look to do is we wait for our lower time frame market shift. We get in on our same type of entry as we would do for our continuation based trades, but we look to get out at a 1 to 2 strict risk to reward. Why I say that is because at any moment price can now flip and continue in the direction of the trend. So when we take our correction based trades, we want to make sure that we're taking our profits at that 1 to 2 risk to reward. Generally, we get a solid 1 to 2 risk to reward before we see any type of market flip into the opposite direction. Why I take correction based trades is just because sometimes in our market session, we're just in a correction. That's just what it is. And I trade from 9:30 to 11:30. So if we're correcting within that time, we had to have a system that we could capitalize off of in those times until price continues in the direction of the trend. Likewise, of all the trades, literally all the trades that we took last week, we could just go through, like, for instance, Friday's trade was here, right? So Friday, let's dial down to the 15-minute time frame. We went ahead and took out these highs right here on Friday. And this was all documented and recorded live. I even posted a reel of this correction-based trade explaining start to finish how we were going to take the trade, execute, and how we executed. And I ended up making $1,600 on this trade, looking for a strict 1 to 2 risk to reward. What do we see happen? We had our high get taken out up here. We dialed down to our 5-minute time frame, and you can see on our 5-minute time frame and even on our 1-minute time frame is where we see most of our shifts happen. If you take a look here, you can see prices creating higher highs and higher lows, right? This was the high that got taken out right here, indicated by this zone. Then after that, we started creating lower lows and lower highs. And so when price indicated that we were creating lower lows and lower highs, we took our entry after the first 5-minute candle after the 5-minute candle closed bearish in this zone, and we scale in all of our entries after the first 1-minute candle that closes in our direction. And we looked for a simple 1 to 2 risk to reward on Friday. We did the same exact thing on Thursday as we did on Tuesday and Wednesday, or as we did on Tuesday and Monday. And the video is coming out this week, so you guys will be able to see how we actually take our correction-based trades. But that's what I'm looking for overall for NQ, is to see what is it that we do as price starts to target this high here at 22,107. That'll really help indicate, how we're going to go about the markets today. We already had on the lower time frame here 15-minute high get taken, so we could potentially even see a flip in this area. This is why we want to wait for 9:30 to open, because generally on the 9:30 open we get some type of volume or sweep in some direction. So we'll just be looking for which way price tends to push. And then we'll scale in following that. But as of right now, coming into the market session, 4-hour time frame is just bullish. I don't see why we wouldn't push to break through these highs, but you guys know now what is going to be the indication if price is not going to break through these highs. That's going to be that lower time frame shift, that lower time frame market flip, and then you'll look to execute on the correction based structure. Why? Because it goes against the current trend that we're in, but it's not a bad trade, right? You just got to have the strict rules to get out there at that 1 and 2. So if we take a look at YM here, same thing, right? We got a bullish daily currently. We got a high get broken, right? We took out this high, then price corrected down. We respected and rejected off of these lows, and now price is in a bullish market structure, right? It's likely that we go ahead and take out these 4,300 highs, and then see if price can go ahead and test these highs up here at 43,205. After price takes out these highs, which is the target that I would look for, because as of right now, price is just in a bullish market structure. How do we know this? Because all of our time frames are aligning with a potential bullish market structure. And until we get a lower time frame flip, we're going to assume that we're still in this bullish market structure. And we're just going to look for our continuation based trades. But as of right now, on the 15-minute time frame, we went ahead, took out a high, could potentially correct and see a continuation. We just got to wait for 9:30. Areas that we'll be looking to target, we'll look for how price reacts within this zone here. If price breaks through this low, you guys know how we set up our key zones, or and if you don't, our key low is the lowest point that started for the break of a new high, right? So if this low gets broken, that indicates on the smaller time frame now that we're flipping from being bullish to now being bearish, and that's when we'll look for our market time frame shift, our lower time frame market shift within the 1-minute time frame to scale in for a potential corrective move. But only then is when I'll be looking for a sell on YM here. Until then, we could see a potential correction and then a continued bullish move. Why I'm anticipating that? If we look at our 4-hour time frame, our 4-hour candle here is in fact bullish. So what is likely of the next 4-hour candle? That we go ahead and we form, let's draw this out by a candle here. that price creates a bottom wick and likely fills the wick of our current 4-hour candle. This is the type of market structure I'm anticipating, which is why on the lower time frame, we want to see this area hold up. That'll be the bottom wick for our new 4-hour candle. Then price continues to break the current 4-hour candle high, which will be at that time the previous 4-hour candle high. These are easy targets that we'll look for price to target on our smaller time frame in terms of places that we'll look to, take our profits and whatnot. So as far as YM, looking for a price to go ahead and potentially come back down, retest, just depending. If we get a rejection on the lower time frame, even on our 1 minute time frame, we could potentially see this start to form into the corrective structure. Our 1 minute time frame is going to be the first indication of a possible corrective structure to form. And then, obviously the other time frames will likely to follow, but I'm not going to be looking for sales until we get a potential break of below this 42,659 or we have an immense amount of volume that goes and wipes out these areas here. Like I'm talking a lot of volume, like an impulsive move down that is indicative of a potential larger time frame shift. So those are the only scenarios where I would be looking for sales, ES is the same thing, right? So same thing that we see with Nas. ES, we know, more closely resembles the structure of Nas. YM, they generally tend to flow all in the same direction, but in terms of actual market structure, ES and NQ are closest in resemblance in terms of certain moves that they make in certain sessions, right? Sometimes we'll see the YM, or we'll see NQ and ES buying and YM will be selling, and it'll just be because of the market structure on YM would be in interesting levels to sell. So generally, we see them all flow in the same direction, but it's not a guarantee. So we're likely going to see, another bullish push. Price has already taken out this high here. So keep an eye out for ES, right? Because ES has already taken out the high that we would anticipate price to sweep. So this will be interesting. ES could be the potential first earliest sign of a possible flip, as we've already taken out the high here for ES. If we do see that lower time frame market shift, we could potentially see this move to the downside and our next 4-hour candle close bearish instead of bullish. But as of right now, we're in a bullish market structure. Price is likely to continue pushing bullish, and that's what we're going to go into the markets until the markets tell us otherwise, right? If the markets is telling us it's buying, we're looking for buys. But then when the markets tells us it's going to sell based on our lower time frame shift, then that's when we're going to look to sell. So I hope you guys got some value out of this. I hope you guys were able to understand what it is that, I'm looking for coming into this session. If you guys are interested in joining us for the live session, you can join down in the link down in the description. You can join our VIP. We're going to be trading this live. We trade live every single day, but we're going to come here and give you guys the pre-market prep every single day so that you guys are prepared for what I'm expecting in the markets. And then we'll update in the VIP. So hope you guys got some value out of this, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow if I don't see you in the VIP.